In March of 2024, I left a market with my display looking something like that. And a couple hours later, it looked like that. Wind did that in only a couple of hours. I've had wind tip over my umbrella and take my whole table with it. I've been chasing earring cards and bookmarks through market parking lots. And honestly, it took me way too many of those moments before I got serious about windproofing my display. So in this video, I'm sharing all my hacks I used to lock down my display so that hopefully you don't have to learn this the hard way like I did. You're welcome. If we haven't met yet, my name is Melissa. I run a brand design studio by day and a handmade product business by night, and I have been vending at craft shows for over 8 years. On this channel, I love to share design and business tips that I've picked up along the way, and today it's all about wind. We're gonna cover 3 overall areas that you're going to wanna make sure to secure against wind. First, your tent. Second, your tables, or maybe only your table if you don't have a tent. And third, your product and displays. So let's dig in. When it comes to your tent, the first thing you want to do is make sure you have selected a nice, good, sturdy tent, not an inexpensive, cheap, lightweight tent. The heavier the tent, the more likely it's going to stay in place when the wind strikes up. Once you've done that, you're going to want to invest in, first of all, tent weights, which is probably a given. Most markets require them if you're going to have a tent. I've seen markets require anywhere from 20 to 40 pounds per leg. I definitely err on the side of caution if you think that there's any possibility of wind during the event. And then if you're going to be in an outdoor setting that's in more of a grassy area, you might as well go and lock that tent down a little bit further using tent stakes. Now, if I had used tent stakes, I am pretty sure that photo I showed you earlier of my tent would not have ended up like that, because you know what? My neighbor, she had tent stakes and her tent fared just fine. The funny thing is that I had considered bringing them and I forgot. And my goodness, how much do I regret that? Another tip for weighting your tent down that a lot of people don't think of, but a vendor friend of mine shared with me a long time ago, is to add weights from the top scaffolding of your tent. Now that sounds funny, but what you want to do is you want to get one of the sandbag style weights and you want to fill it about halfway full and you want to flop it over that scaffolding, like in this photo right here. I've used 1 before and I've used 2 before. The nice thing about 2 is it weights it a little bit more evenly, so I definitely recommend 2 if you can. All right, then let's talk about any banners or signage that are attached to your booth. Specifically, I see this happen a lot with banners. They start flying all over the place. It's really common for vendors to have banners in the back of their booth. So just make sure you've got that thing locked down on all 4 corners. And you might even look into, when you're having your banner produced, some banner companies make banners that have intentional small perforations in them just to help let some wind come through the banner. And then when it comes to your walls around your tent, if you're actually in progress of vending at an event, sometimes it can actually be better to take your walls down, because then you don't get them catching the wind or trying to create a sail from your tent. I know it's really tempting to want to have the walls up during a windy market, and you may have to, but that's just something to consider, is that perhaps taking them down could actually make your tent much more stable throughout the course of the market. Now let's talk about tables. Whether you're setting up in a table-only space or you have tables inside your tent, you still gotta take a few measures to make sure those things don't go crazy during the wind. So the first thing is your tablecloth. I've said this before in previous videos, I prefer fitted tablecloths for exactly this reason. They pretty much don't move in the wind. Yes, they do look a little bit like the kind of tablecloth you use at a trade show. Over time, I've just kind of made peace with that. I've decided that the pros outweigh the cons with the fitted tablecloth. I would rather not have it be anything I have to think about or contend with. So that's my first tip for tables, is to get fitted tablecloths. Now, if you don't have fitted tablecloths and you don't want to buy new tablecloths, the next best thing you can do is keep a bunch of clips in your kit of goodness that you bring to markets with you, so that if the wind starts to strike up, you can use those clips to clip your tablecloth around the legs of the table. Pack plenty of these clips. They can be as simple as just your basic clothespin. If you have a table only space and you're using an umbrella, you're gonna wanna make sure the umbrella is in a nice heavy umbrella stand, and then you still need to watch that thing like a hawk, especially if you tip it. I like to tip my umbrella from time to time to like get the sun off my back, But the problem is if the wind strikes up, especially if it's tipped, it will act as a sail and it will go flying. It might take stuff with it. So I use an umbrella regularly. I highly recommend them, but you just have to be very careful with them when it comes to windy days. Now, if you have any banners on your table, you're going to want to make sure you've got a way to weight those down also. My banner, I've sewn a pocket into the bottom and I stick a dowel in there. It's like a 1/2-inch dowel. So it's got a little bit of weight, but it's not super heavy. So that's one way to do it. You can also just add clips on the bottom of your banner. Less attractive, but works well like in the moment to solve the problem of the banner wanting to blow around. Another thing you can do is sew washers or maybe magnets into the corners of the banner to keep it weighted down. Next, let's talk about windproofing your displays and your products. But before we move on, if you guys are liking this video, if it's saving you from having a runaway tent, would you just hit the like button for me? It really helps me out a lot. When it comes to securing your products and displays, I'm going to talk about different types of displays and different ways you can secure them. First of all, if you guys have watched any of my videos, you know I love pegboards. Pegboards are pretty much my favorite way to display anything. But if the thing you're displaying on them is not very heavy, it will fly right off those pegs in the wind. Hence the bookmark chasing I mentioned in the intro of this video. So for any kind of pegboard hooked situation, I love to use these little mini clothespins, and I just clip them in front of the product on the hook and it keeps them from blowing off. And the great thing are these are cheap and they're tiny. They take no space in your kit. Likewise, you can always bring back the big clothespins if that's more convenient for you or if you've got some sort of larger hook type situation. Another thing I use both on my pegboards but also on my greeting card racks are clear elastic bands. For my elastic bands, I've actually pre-tied them to go around the width of all of my greeting card tiers. This is just the thickest possible jewelry elastic string that I could find. I believe it is 0.9 millimeters, I think, or maybe 1 millimeter. I can't ever remember. I had this exact same dilemma in another video I recorded. But I will link this stuff below. I'll actually link all this stuff below in my Amazon storefront. So if you're wondering about the exact thing I use, it'll be down there. Now, if you display any lightweight items in bowls or dishes, this is not the most attractive thing ever, but it does work in a really windy pinch situation. And that is these clear plastic bowl covers. This is just those elastic bowl covers that you'd put over like a fruit salad to transport it to a picnic. They come in like a box of, I don't know, 10 or 20 for like $3. I got mine at the dollar store. I just keep a few of these in my kit in case I need it. I actually have not had to use this yet, but they're so small and inexpensive. I keep them around just in case to kind of put over the top of any type of dish with a lightweight item in it. The other thing is they also work well against protecting against rain if you've got something in a dish that you don't want to get wet. Like for me, I keep my stud earrings in a little dish and I wouldn't want all of those cards to get all wet. They blow away easily, they get wet easily, and that little cover solves that. When it comes to things like signage or the displays themselves wanting to tip around, there's a few different things you can try. First of all, you can try some sort of double-sided stick tape. I always keep a little bit of double stick tape in my little market kit. One option is this nano tape, what's called alien tape, but I think the generic term is nano tape. It's this clear, double-sided, super sticky tape. It sticks to almost anything and removes clean for the most part. Don't come at me if it doesn't. Read the back of the label. But I have hung displays with this. I have locked displays down by putting some tape underneath it with this stuff. The other thing I usually have in my kit is toupee tape. This is called Top Stick. It's a double-sided tape. It's very sticky because it's designed to keep a toupee in place. But the nice thing about this is it comes in individual little strips, so you don't have to worry about like cutting it down to size or anything if you don't want to. I do sometimes cut them, but you don't have to if you're in a pinch. So I keep a couple strips of this in my kit just to be safe also. And then last but not least, when it comes to locking down signage or actual display items, is you can use clamps. These little, I don't know what these are called. I just get them from Home Depot, but these little clamps work wonders and they open a little over an inch. So if you have to like clamp something to your table or to a shelf or something, these work really well. And don't forget, you know, you always got your handy clothespins. I cannot stress enough, like keep 10 of these in your kit for locking down various items at many points in time. When it comes to garment racks or freestanding shelving, you're gonna wanna make sure to weight those. I would recommend like a weight plate and setting it on the base of the garment rack, setting it on the bottom shelf of the shelving unit, probably more than one, possibly, 3 or 4 of them. Whatever you think is gonna be heavy enough to keep that from going. And then of course, you do need to keep an eye on that thing because no matter what you do, those items, they're tall, they can easily kind of act as a sail, but for the best chances of not having to pick up the pieces on your garment rack or a freestanding shelving unit, I would definitely weight the base of them. If you survived a windy market and lived to tell the tale, I'd love to hear the story below in the comments. Or if you've got great tips on other ways to windproof your displays, please leave them there as well because I am always looking to learn new tips. And I'm sure anyone else watching this video is as well. If you are new to markets and want the ultimate overview on how to prepare for your first market, watch my market prep video next. Or you can check out my whole entire handmade business playlist right here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and thank you so much for watching to the end. I will see you in the next one.